أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Okay. I put out a video. The sound was really, really bad. I see people are actually watching these things, so I guess it's kind of my duty to make sure that people can hear what I'm talking about when I'm ranting on the computer. Now, the whole thing about this was when I made these videos, I really didn't think that people were going to watch them and subscribe to them and stuff like that and comment on them and things like that. So, this is going to be crazy. Okay, so anyways, that video, the one that was so hard to read, you're going to have to look at it again if you want to see the cards, because I don't know where I've placed them. But what had happened some time ago in the summer, I was at home, sitting at home because of my broken kidney, which is a different story altogether, and my telephone rings. And this was, nobody had really known where we were because we had only been staying at this place for, less than a month. This was during the time that we moved 3 times within 4 months and then just quit moving and lived in the truck for a few months. But anyways, this was just in the beginning of that. When I was at home, my phone rang and I answered it. And on the telephone it said it was the NSIS, the National Security Investigations Sector of the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police in Canada, the country that I'm in. And never happy to hear police. I'm untouchable, but whatever. And I had no idea what they wanted, but he says, well, we have an issue of national security. Now, I know what's going on here, and when people call me and tell me that they have issues with me regarding national security, I immediately said, oh, well, we better take care of this because, this could be quite important. And they said, well, you can come down to the station and we can interview you, or we can come to your house. And I immediately said, well, do I need a lawyer? And they said, well, no, you don't need a lawyer. We just want to ask you a few questions. And I thought, well, okay, I'll meet you at the Tim Hortons. I said, I'll meet you at the Tim Hortons in front of the masjid that I regularly attend, which was on the other side of town. And they said yes and fine. So I drove there in my International. I have this very old, it's 36 years old, this station wagon on great big tires, and I drove there in this truck, and I got into the parking lot, and I backed into my spot, and I was just watching cars, and I saw these 2 guys in a little white car. As soon as I backed in, they got out of their car and started walking over to my big black International 4x4 station wagon. And I rolled down the window, and as soon as the one guy walked up, I said, thank you. And I caught him off guard. He says, well, thank you for what? And I said, well, I knew you guys were watching. I just didn't know you guys were watching me. And then he said, oh, well, we're not watching you. And I said, well, you just picked me out of the parking lot. And I said, you guys want a coffee? I'm going to get a coffee. So they didn't want a coffee. And they said, well, do you mind if we go and sit over at those tables over there where there was no other people? They didn't want to sit inside the Tim Hortons and do this interview with people around. They wanted to sit outside of a restaurant that was closed right next door. So I said, yeah, that's fine, because honestly, I want to comply, within, anyways. So I said, yeah, that's fine. And then I went into the Tim Hortons to get a coffee, and I saw a couple girls in hijab, and I said, girls, see those 2 guys, they're interviewing me for a matter of national security. I have no idea what it is, but if you see me on a milk carton, I was here. I don't want to end up in Syria, even though I was born in Prince George, BC. Anyways, crazy things when you have a loud mouth. Crazy things can happen, I think, now. So anyways, I went back out and sat with these two gentlemen. You see their names on the cards that I had posted the time before. And first of all, they asked me how long I was Muslim, how long I was Muslim for. So, I told them, and then they asked me what Shahada was. And then I told them, it's how you become Muslim, and then I asked them, I said, so why are we here? What is this matter of national security? And what they had told me was that somebody had called them and informed them that I was going to name my daughter Jihad, which is totally correct. I was totally going to name my boy or my girl, even my girl, I was totally dead set on naming her Jihad, and I told every Muslim brother and sister that I knew up until 2 weeks before my daughter was born, and I decided to call her Sarah Noor instead. So, I told tons of people, and somebody called an NSIS and told them that Ibrahim, this is the key, that Ibrahim was going to name his daughter Jihad. And they wanted to know what Jihad meant and Shahada, and they had a few questions on how long I was Muslim for and why I wanted to name my daughter Jihad. And I said, I actually stood up and I said, I'll name my kid whatever the F I want, because this is my country and nobody's going to tell me what I can or cannot name my kids, and I started getting really excited around them and stood up, as a matter of fact, and because I feel very serious about this issue anyways. And then I took the chance to talk a little bit more and waste their time. At the very least, they asked me a question and I ran with it. I can rant and rave and go on and on and on forever, and I took this little ability of mine and turned their little interview into like 2 hours, which was it's kind of funny anyways. But it just really made me wonder, how free are we? Okay, thank you for listening. Assalamu alaikum.